Boy oh boy, Nintendo. What's going on, everyone? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and let me give you a little bit of lore here. Way back in the early 2000s, what seems like a million years ago at this point, in gaming at least anyway, and PC hardware. But Nintendo did this really strange thing, and they offered a service that would allow companies and developers and publishers to put their old legacy content onto their current hardware. They would allow them to download these games for a nominal fee and be able to play these games at your leisure. You could pick and mix whatever you wanted. If you wanted to buy 100 games, if you wanted to buy one game. The choice was there, and it was custom tailored to you and what you needed. It's something that console owners these days don't really have a concept of. It's called consumer choice. And believe it or not, regardless of what Sony, Nintendo and Microsoft will actually tell you, consumer choice is a good thing. What's going on, everyone? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and we're here today to talk about the official news that Nintendo have killed everyone's hopes of ever having a virtual console on the Nintendo Switch. So let's get right into the announcement anyway. Here's what Nintendo had to say. There are currently no plans to bring classic games together under the Virtual Console banner as has been done on other Nintendo systems. There are a variety of ways in which classic games from Nintendo and other publishers are made available on Nintendo Switch, such as through Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online. That's such an awful name, Nintendo, by the way. What were you thinking? Anyway, Nintendo eShop, or as packaged collections. Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, Jesus Christ, Nintendo, fire whoever came up with that name, will provide a new, fun way to experience classic NES games that will be different from the Virtual Console service, thanks to enhancements such as added online play, voice chat via the Nintendo Switch Online app, and the various play modes of Nintendo Switch. So that right there is absolutely killing it. That is the nail in the coffin right there. Nintendo have officially confirmed there are no plans to ever bring a Virtual Console to a Nintendo Switch. Keep in mind, this was the biggest and most requested feature ever since late in the Wii U's lifespan, even before the Nintendo Switch was the Nintendo NX, and even before it was leaked and rumored to even be a Nintendo NX. About halfway through the lifespan, everyone was sick of the dead Wii U, and we were looking forward and hoping we could transfer our purchases over to whatever came next from Nintendo. But Nintendo have killed this dream, and what they've done is they've replaced it with a terrible, absolutely mediocre at best service. So instead of a Virtual Console, what Nintendo are actually doing is they have their online subscription service. It's required to play multiplayer games online and use their voice chat app and whatnot. I have another video coming about that, so we'll get into the whole details on that in a separate video. But the one point I do want to bring up in relation to the subscription service is that they give you access to an almost Netflix style service when it comes to retro games. I very much dislike using the term Netflix style service, because Netflix has a great choice with thousands of films, thousands of TV shows, thousands of everything, whereas this service gives you 20. That's right, 20. And these are actually NES games. Unlike the original NES and SNES games which they originally promised. Because if you go all the way back to January of 2017, when the Nintendo Switch was first properly unveiled and we had the first proper details when it came to the online service, they actually quoted NES and SNES games. Then later on in the year, when it was delayed, they backpedaled it and downgraded it to just NES games, which is what we're seeing here. And I don't know about you guys, but I dislike online subscription services as it is. I do currently pay for one of them, begrudgingly mind you, but especially when it comes to something like game access, or access to anything really. I don't even pay for Netflix. But when a company can, at its own whim, remove your access to something, or replace it, or just completely remove it and not give you a replacement, and you're completely at their whim, I'm not a big fan of that. I like my ownership, because you only keep access to these games as long as you are subscribed to this service. So you could, in theory, pay for this service for 5 years straight, and sure, while you're subscribed, you might eventually get access to over 300 games. The day that subscription lapses, you're back at ground zero. I don't know about you guys, but I like to have something for my money. It's like all those games in my collection room from the 80s and 90s. Yeah, they still work. There's no subscription service there. Now, I am going to say one quick positive as well. I'm going to look at it from the glass half full side of it. which is just because there's no dedicated virtual console style. Now, I will say before I go any further, I do not think this is going to be the case for the majority. There will be a small minority, but we'll cover this now in a second. That even though the standard virtual console as it's known will not be there in any way, shape or form, I do still think we're going to see very small amounts of companies and publishers put out their games. We've already seen it with Hamster, with the Neo Geo and arcade games. We're seeing it with the Flying Tiger games putting out the outer Data East arcade games, and Sega are bringing over the Sega Ages stuff. So in theory, it's not impossible for companies to put out their own individual, we'll call them pieces of software in game format on the Nintendo eShop. Now, for 99% of the case, I don't believe we're going to see that. The beauty of the Virtual Console was it was all one standard piece of emulation software. You drop in your ROM, it might take one or two little tweaks just to get working, but other than that, for the most part, it was all good to go. It was just the standard Virtual Console as we knew and loved it, with all those old platforms from the Commodore 64 all the way up to the Nintendo 64. But now it looks like that won't be the case. I mean, we already have companies releasing these collections as it is. Square Enix launched the Suikoden Setsu collection in Japan. Hopefully they translate it and release it outside of Japan. Capcom are coming out with the Mega Man and Mega Man X collections. We've already covered Hamster, Sega, Flying Tiger, so it can in theory happen. But I'm going to keep it 100% real with you. I don't think we're going to see what we would have on a Virtual Console released separately as individual stuff. I'm not sure if there's something Nintendo is keeping back on that side of it, or just something we don't know about, or if it's just companies not wanting to bother because there's no proper system for it. And what really kills me about this is the one thing that I actually do believe is perfect for the Switch. I'm a big opponent of the whole, oh, this game should come to the Switch, it will be a perfect fit for the Switch. Thank God this game is coming to the Switch, it's a perfect fit for the Switch. 99% of the people who say that are actually wrong, because when you look at what they're saying it about, again, 99% of the games that they're talking about are actually not perfect for the Switch, because they involve cutting down the resolution to below standard definition, or they're cutting down the frame rate to unplayable levels of under half the frame rate, or they're cutting the visuals down to below the lowest settings, or all of the above, just to get a game on the Nintendo Switch. That is absolutely the 100% opposite of being perfect for the Switch. Games like Doom and Wolfenstein, for example, compared to something like a Super Nintendo game or a Sega Mega Drive game or whatever it is, those games actually run perfectly. They run at the same frame rate, they run at the same visuals, they run at the same resolution, they run at the same everything. You're getting the exact same product on every platform when it comes to that. And the bit that would be perfect about it for the Switch side of it that way is, let's compare the Wii U and the 3DS. The Virtual Console on both of those platforms was very similar. You had many games that released on both platforms. Of course, Nintendo being Nintendo would make you buy them both twice. And even once they swapped over to a unified account system, they gave you no benefit of it. No transfer in saves, no cloud saves, or no free copies or discounted copies if you have it on another platform. Because hey, Nintendo going to Nintendo, right? And that's where the Switch would have taken over. Let's say I'm out and about and I'm, I don't know, on a train ride or whatever, and I want to play Earthbound on my 3DS. And maybe I put an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever into it, and then I come home and I want to continue it on my Wii U, on my big screen TV. Now granted, I wouldn't do that because I have an analog Super NT and a copy of Earthbound, but you get the point. On the Wii U, I would have had to start over from scratch. I wouldn't have been able to transfer it across or anything like that. And because on the Switch, since there's Super Nintendo games and old school games, NES games, Mega Drive games, whatever, because you're actually getting the 100% full fat exact same experience, unlike Doom or Wolfenstein or basically any third party game on the Switch, it makes sense in that regard. So that's my whole 2 cents on the matter. I'm very, very unhappy and very, very disappointed. The Virtual Console was one of the biggest requests from millions of people, myself included, and I will no longer be able to look online every Thursday and see what the update brings and see if there's any new games that I can't wait to download and play, and now my Switch will go back to being playing 1 game a year, maybe 2 if I'm lucky. Anyway, let me know in the comment section below your thoughts and opinions on the whole Virtual Console dead, never coming, absolutely get out of here, stop asking announcement from Nintendo. Are you very disappointed that they basically completely killed off this pioneered system that they helped create? Or will you be happy with their terrible new online service that allows them to yank their games away from you and give you basically nothing or whatever, you know, on their complete whim? And there's nothing you can do about it. Let me know all of that anyway in the comments section below. hit the appropriate button to let me know how I did on the video, and while you're at it, why not even hit the subscribe button and even turn on the notification bell. Granted, YouTube probably still won't send you all the notifications for the video uploads and the live streams, but at least you can say you tried, right? Anyway, as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the rest of the videos in my channel.